Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 80.
Public service announcement. Come to the Omni Hotel, floor number 6, room number
We're just going to bleep it out again.
6.
Well, thank you very much for that interruption, Kellen.
Oh, but I have a real public service announcement.
Uh-huh.
The soap in our bathroom
I noticed this.
was Sicilian
Tangerine.
and not oranges.
Oh my god.
I deeply regret this editorial error and want to apologize to the Omni Hotel
Uh-huh.
and
all
Resorts,
Sicilians.
floor 6, room 6.
Like you've never been to Sicily or something. Oranges, you idiot. So let's carry on with day 2 of Gen Con. This is our second report from the events from the floor of Gen Con here in Indianapolis. And it's been a busy day. Oh my. Because we've had
First
guests.
of all, this is a report, and now he's got this like reporter talk.
Yeah,
going on.
absolutely.
Oh my, it's a busy day on the floor.
Yeah, totally. It's a busy day in Indianapolis here. Mark, over to you.
That's right.
We had our meetup. So we had
Super
everyone
cool.
stop by to come play games with us, which was super, super gratifying. Thank you so much for everyone who came out. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Everyone who insulted the tanky plushie, get the out of our Discord.
But yeah, genuinely, it was awesome to meet everyone that came by, and yeah, hopefully if you're still around on the show, like let us know. We can try figure something out for tomorrow. Hopefully, That night ended with a very riveting game called Finger Guns at High Noon, which is an indie boards and cards game. This is a pretty silly party game, which we had a lot of fun with. The premise is everyone sits in a circle. You all start with 20 health. You're all cowboys, I guess. And the first thing that happens is there's like a loose, they call it a negotiation round, where you can sort of talk to other people at the table, decide on what you're going to be doing. And at any point, someone can interrupt and say, 3, 2, 1, draw. And then everyone immediately has to do like a hand gesture to someone else at the table, whether that's pointing 2 fingers for a gun, pointing some fingers into the air to heal up, giving a thumbs up to form a posse. And the way that works, if more than half the people at the table form a posse, then everyone else loses health, so that's fun. Or you can throw a stick of dynamite, which is like the sign of the horns, which is you take 1 damage and your neighbors take 3 damage. Or there's a power shot, which can be interrupted. And one of the other fun things is generally if 2 people make the same gesture, they get cancelled out. So you're trying to find a unique gesture to show to someone else in order to inflict damage on them. The other fun thing about this is if you die, you stay in the game and you still have a chance to win as a ghost, which would never happen because you have to simultaneously kill everyone at the table. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You'd have to be an idiot
To lose
as a survivor.
Ghosts.
Yeah.
And the ghosts have guns.
That's
right.
true too. So if we haven't given it away, the survivors lost
To the ghost.
to the ghosts
Because Nealon.
I blew us up with dynamite. It was great. I thought I had this figured out. If I had been 1 shot less, I would have survived and been the last survivor, and it would have been glorious. Fortunately, I killed myself with dynamite, and all the ghosts won. It was really funny.
Yeah, literally, if you had gone to the restroom.
If I had done anything else
instead,
at that
yeah,
point,
you
I would have won. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, as a kind of a hot take, this reminds me of Dead Last, which is another just vote everyone out until there's one winner, but with more silliness. If you might remember, one of the top 5 games I was looking to play at Gen Con was called Conflicting Legends from Indie Boards and Cards, and this is kind of similar in some ways, but you're doing a rock, paper, scissors tournament, but you can have special powers that impact the rock, paper, scissors. We also played Conflicting Legends, and it was not conflicting to anyone because it was fine. It was funny. There was fun moments, but compared to Finger Guns at High Noon, it's just not even in the same ballpark of the fun and humor that we had, even though they're both similar types of experiences. So I'm super glad to have Finger Guns at High Noon, and I just want to point out that I bring the party to the Board Game Barrage podcast and not Nealon, even though he didn't introduce it as thus. So
As the game that you brought to the party. Oh,
You're
I'm sorry.
welcome, Neil.
Yeah. That was brought to you by Kellen. And speaking of people that we ran into, we had a really fun game and chat with Mike DeCilio from the Discord and of Sporadically Bored. So that was really cool. Really always a pleasure to talk to Mike. Really, really cool dude. It was great playing games with him.
And he taught us a game by Sachi and Sachi in front of the elevators.
Yeah.
yeah, this is the company that made Let's Make a Bus Route and Coffee Roaster.
Right?
And it's a game about getting on an elevator.
Yeah. So there are 3 elevators that are going to be scoring at the end of the round. There are 3 rounds in the game. And what you're trying to do is try to get your family members to the front of the lines that are entering the elevators. So you want to be in the front of the line so you make it in the elevator, but you want to be the last person on the elevator because, as we all know, the last person in the elevator gets to be the first one out of the elevator. So there's a balance right there. You want to be in, you want to be like among the top 4, but you also want to be the 4th. So you want to be walking that fine line of just about to get booted out of the scoring. A couple of unique twists are that you're not just placing your own family members. You have 2 cards to play from. You play a card, and then when you draw back up from one of 3 piles, and the piles are all mixed together, cards of all the family members in the game. So, I could play one of my cards to the table, and then I could draw one of Kellen's cards. For example, if he's playing red, I could draw a red card knowing that I will have the fate of that member of his family in my hand to control.
And they're colored on the back, so you know exactly what you're drawing when you get it.
And the other twist on the game is that there are 7 types of family members per family. There's a grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, sister and brother. Each age group wants to be on a specific elevator. Their score is doubled on a specific floor. And also, every family member will cut in line in front of another family member. So, for example, I think the grandfather will cut in line in front of the little girl. So
That's thematic.
So you have to keep that in mind when you're placing somebody, that they may be usurped by the type of card who cuts in front of them. There's also an aspect to the game where if any floor ever has 3 of the same type of family member, so if you have 3 grandmas on the same floor, whoever plays the 3rd grandma wipes all the grandmas off the floor, which is a weird sentence to say, and will score 1 point for that, and then that line closes in, so all the gaps close in. So it was a very cute game. The art style is very, very cute, similar, I think, to the other games by the designers. Reminded me a little bit of Six Nimmt, with maybe a little more strategy to it, but the same level of lightness, the same tactical aspect of the game where you can't really plan on too much into the future because you're only holding 2 cards at any one time, and because there's so many cutting in line that you can't really plan too far ahead.
Right, the lines shift like pretty much constantly based on what other people are doing.
Yeah, but it was fun.
It was fun. Totally.
Yeah.
The best player won.
Yeah.
But no, it was super great getting to talk to Mike.
Yeah.
Wasn't my second conversation with him. It was my first, as I've never been invited to participate on his podcast. But Mark and I had a private chat.
Yep.
And we do want to run a little poll here at the Omni in this room. Text 1 to vote out Neelan and replace him with Mike on the podcast. And text to keep Neelan on the podcast.
That was a nice try, but I'm cutting that too. I'm also texting 1 though.
Another game we played that we really liked is from Deepwater Games. This is Realm of Sand. This is a sort of a Palomino style game with a little bit of a twist in that as you have a collection of 3 tiles, and as you place one, you replace it with another one from a ring, sort of patchwork style, this ring that's sort of looping around. But as you place them, you only sort of place them temporarily because the pattern on the Palomino is actually what matters. So you might have a Palomino that has like a green, and a red square. So you find a spot for it, you immediately just replace that with just these individual green, and red tiles, so just like 1 by 1. And you're allowed to like overlap pre-existing stuff. So if you wanted to replace a tile that you placed previously, you're free to do that. You're doing this to create patterns of different colors, which correspond to building cards, which are in the center. If you imagine like a Splendor-style grid of 3 rows, where there are level 1 buildings, level 2 buildings, level 3 buildings, and the buildings are harder to build and have more intricate patterns.
Splendor killer.
We just want to.
God, they're just like grinning at each other so much right now.
Splendor is dead.
This is a quote.
Okay,
from
this
Neelan.
is not even remotely factually true. The only thing I said
from Neelan.
All I said was the grid of cards works similarly to how it does in Splendor. Someone else at the table said, "Oh, it's a Splendor killer," and somehow this gets attributed to me as if it's a thing I ever said.
Callan, tell the fans what he actually said.
Neelan said, within 6 seconds of the game starting,
We hadn't even played it yet.
"This is a Splendor killer."
I did not say that. Those words never left my mouth. God. But
the difference is the rows go 1, 2, 3 from top to bottom instead of 3, 2,
It's
1.
a core mechanical change, and you end up with buildings that get progressively more complicated as you're sort of creating these patterns of runes. There are some other fun things with these discs that you don't have to spend, you get them back. But otherwise, you're building to points in a similar way. Each card also has a sort of a countdown on it, which signals the end of the game. Once someone hits 10 hourglasses, then you tally up your points, and that's it. It felt like a cool sort of merging of ideas. Like, it had sort of a Palomino feel, resource kind of management, like I said, with a card system where, your first row of cards is getting you the resources you need to build the second row and what you need to build the third row, as you would in Splendor, say. So yeah, I liked this a lot. I kind of want to play this a couple more times, get a good feel for it. What do you guys think?
The art is super pretty. It has kind of an anime aesthetic to
Yeah.
the cover. But then inside it has, I wouldn't even know how to describe it, but the 3D aspect of the illustrations, because you're trying to make pretty complex shapes on your grid, and this is one where it's pretty easy to tell where the pieces need to go, but it's also beautiful to just look at the cards,
right.
which is a good balance for me. I think there's, a little bit of silliness here. The special powers, I think, are kind of unnecessary, but that's just my hot take, and I'm excited about the line of games that they're doing, and I'm excited about this one.
Part of a trilogy.
Yeah, I guess this is the second in a series, and the third one is being released later this year, perhaps.
Although they're all going to be different games.
Different games, yeah.
Seem to be all like midweight Euros, but different styles.
Right.
Features the same heroines embarking on a quest to kill Splendor.
Which they were immediately successful at, evidently.
Yep. Splendor is dead. You heard it here first.
We didn't get a chance to play it, but we did get a chance to go by Parallel Games and get an overview by the designer of my number one most anticipated game of 2019 and number one most anticipated game of Gen Con. That is The City of the Big Shoulders. Again, we haven't played it, but the explanation and the overview got me really, really psyched up. It seems to blend economic Euro mechanics as well as 18xx in a really streamlined, really easy to grasp, easy to play way, but with all the hooks that you want from an economic game or from an 18xx game. I saw a lot of the aspects of 18xx represented in this game in ways that, again, really clarified it, really made it easy to understand. For example, one of the staples of 18xx games, the map itself is abstracted in a way that's really clever. The stock market phase, again, one of the fundamental aspects of 18xx games, is represented in a single line stock tracker, which is unlike 18xx games where you have a huge stock price tracker. It just seemed really elegant, really interesting, really meaty, I was just super excited to play it. Can't wait to dive in and play it.
I even tried to offend the designer of the game by comparing 18xx players to those who have like 100 versions of Monopoly or 100 versions of Risk and only play those. And he was a very classy gentleman.
He was.
But I think I'm excited to play this. I think as a bridge, as a stepping stone to 18xx. I don't know that I'll ever arrive off that bridge, but the idea of getting some of that stock manipulation and cutthroat, I'm going to buy you out of the company, son.
Yeah.
Feels like a lot of the interaction I want with maybe some of the systems that I don't personally need.
That was one of the most exciting things to me in getting the overview, was like realizing that the way the game was presented was a way that you guys, or people maybe like you that are, into mid to heavy games who are interested in 18xx, a way to introduce it to you that gave you all the good aspects without having to commit to an 8-hour game or 6-hour game. This is not the most perhaps exciting of themes, although I love the flavor text and all the work that was done in keeping it thematic. All the companies in the game are companies from Chicago. Board has a map of Chicago sort of in the background, so thematically I really like it. But yeah, it just seems like a really great way to introduce people into the what 18xx has to offer in a palatable way.
Yeah, I'll definitely say this. The way the designer presented that in that fashion as it being appealing to the heavy Eurogamer that has never played an 18xx game certainly worked on me. I will confess that in all the times you've described this game, you've been hyping about this for a little while now. It was in your anticipated for the year, anticipated for Gen Con. Every time my eyes have glazed over a little bit when I've looked into it, it's just not, it doesn't seem like my type of game.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw it, and as soon as I was having that conversation with the designer about his aims and getting the gist of the rules, I was actually genuinely excited to play it, and I still am. And I would love to. Yeah. And if that's my brief taste into the ideas of 18xx, then that seems real cool to me.
And for all of it to take about 2.5 hours, which is what he's saying it takes, is fantastic. It's really exciting.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Yep.
The last game we're going to talk about is Medium,
which might be the breakout game, I think, of the convention.
Yeah, it seems to be doing well for them. Like, it's selling pretty quickly, but I don't think I heard that much about this game going into the convention. The developers reached out to us and were like, hey, do you want to come check this out? And we were excited to, because it's a light party game, which is very much the sort of thing that we generally love. It's sort of fighty, fun, and quick. So we were excited to check it out, and it's really, it seems really cool. The way it works is you sort of, in a circle, you have a hand of 6 cards. The first player will sort of present a card to the player to their left, and each of these cards just has a word on them, and they're just simple words like river, boat, canoe, hammer, stuff like that. Then, based on the word that you give the player to your left, that player will choose one of the words from their hand and sort of play it in front of them. So you now have 2 words. Now your aim is to find the medium, the word that connects those 2 words. So you're going to look into each other's eyes, sort of get on the same wavelength, and sort of find in the word in your minds that you think is going to connect to these 2 words. So you're trying to match. And you go 3, 2, 1, you say the word out loud, and either matches or it doesn't. If you match on the first try, you get sort of a higher tier of points. Otherwise, you sort of try to rematch with the 2 new words you just said, not using any of the other words on the table. So you keep doing that up to 3 times until you match or you bust, basically. And then the play passes to the next player. That player then presents a card to the player on their left. And the way this is working, as you're collecting points, you're collecting them sort of between people. So you'll have a collection of points to the player on your left, you'll have a collection of points shared with the player on your right, and whichever points you have the most of, that pair of people wins. So whichever the 2 people had the best connection of the table effectively wins.
We're going to recreate a round of it right now. Nealon's word is bread, and Kellen's word is car. Okay, so we're going to have them recreate a round of this right now. Nealon's word is bread. So the idea, again, ladies and gentlemen, is that they need to simultaneously say a word that bridges the gap between bread and car. Let's see if they can do it.
Do you have a word?
Yeah, it's easy. No, it's a bit esoteric, but I think it's good. It's actually terrible, really. Okay. 3, 2, 1, jam.
Okay, so Nealon said
jam,
and Kellen said
dough.
Okay, so
traffic jam, brilliant.
Oh, right, that's good. Okay, so now,
jam is disgusting on bread.
So now, since they missed, Nealon's word is now jam, Kellen's word is now dough, and they can't use the word car or bread from the last round either. So they're going to try to match again. So again, Nealon's word jam, Kellen's word dough. Let's see if they can do it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, spread.
Oh, I thought they had it there. Okay, so Kellen's word is toast. Nealon's word is spread. Yeah. So this is their last chance. They can't use the word spread, toast, jam,
and dough,
or car and bread.
Right.
So all those words are off the table. Anything else goes. Let's see if they can salvage this. Tension is high.
3, 2, 1,
butter.
Oh! And that's the board game barrage in a nutshell.
This is the loudest Nealon has ever been. Like, look at that bar.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And I think, and that gives you a little idea of, I think, why it could be. It has the potential of being the breakout game because it scratches that same codename thing.
Yeah, because it strikes me as something like Just One. It feels like this amalgamation of a bunch of ideas that you just wouldn't think would work as well as they do because they're so simple, but it just totally does, and it's blisteringly easy to explain to someone while being incredibly fun to play. We had a lot of fun playing this. Like, as we were demoing it on the floor, we were like, "Well, this is it. We got to get it." Yeah. And we played a game of it today, and it was fun. Because even on the turns that you're not participating, you are trying to get it. Right? You're trying to match with the people even though you want. It's really clever. Yeah. I thoroughly recommend Medium by Storm Chaser Games. If you're at Gen Con, it's at the Greater Than Games booth.
If it's still
around. Right. Absolutely. And I think that is going to do it for our impressions of day 2. Thank you everyone for listening to the show. Join us again tomorrow for day 3. This will be the final day that we will have a podcast of Gen Con, because we'll be flying back on Sunday night. Thank you all for listening. If you've been listening to these episodes, we super appreciate it. Goodbye and good night, everybody.
Au revoir. That's French.
Shoshana.
Okay, yeah.
The worst.
Your credibility is tanking.
You said the words.
I literally didn't.
I don't remember
Dan
this at
said
all. I
them.
don't remember that
You
at all.
wait.
Dan
You remember?
said them.
I remember somebody talking about Splendor being killed, but I don't remember what
It was Dan.
But I like the idea that
Well,
we're selling
name
us
calling
now.
on the show is
I know,
just
uncalled
poor
for.
taste.